Welcome to SME Heartbeats, raw stories, bold futures, your go-to podcast for the untold tales of entrepreneurship and innovation. I'm Sanka Kankiti, here to illuminate the extraordinary journey of small and medium-sized businesses with you. With over 95% of companies worldwide falling into the SME category, that includes SMBs as well, and creating 70% of jobs, it's clear. These companies aren't just businesses, they're the very backbone of our society. Yet in a world where 67% of these businesses struggle and half won't see their 5th anniversary, their stories often go untold. It's time to change. SME Heartbeats is more than a podcast. It's a mission to spotlight the unsung champions of our global village. Together, we'll explore their challenges, celebrate their triumphs, and learn from their journeys. Remember, every time we choose to spend $1, we're voting on the world we want to live in. So join me as we cast our votes for a world that uplifts and supports the heart and soul of our economy, the SMBs and the SMEs. Let's go far together. Hi, welcome to SME Heartbeats. Today we'll be talking to Phyllis Reid-Jarvis, owner of Ultimate Potentials. That should say everything. But what's really remarkable about Phyllis is that she has this perspective about management, that leadership begins within. I know you want to find out more about her. So tell me a little bit about who you are and your organization.
So who am I? Pretty deep question for us to start off with, but I'll make it short. So Phyllis Reid-Jarvis, that's the name that's been given to me, and I do use that name with a lot of, love and honor. My dad gave me that first name, and my dad passed when I was about 2.5, 3 years old. Never got to know him, but I've known him in spirit. And he's always with me. And so, and it was at a time where just a lot of things, no photos, no photographs of him or anything, and so on and so forth. So that's the name that I go by. And who am I? I actually am, this human who, something from, I guess, day one, I've always been an advocate. I've always been someone who was really brought on this earth to fulfill I call it my purpose through words. So the spoken words, the written words. And so words have always been my tool that I use, whether it's to talk myself through something, to support others, challenge others. And so I would say I am that human who I've always known that I gotta do something with my words for the the betterment rather is the proper word. Not only of myself, not only of my family, but my community and my that I live in. Yeah.
How have you created the echo of that experience, of that revelation, of that transformation into the way that you have built your business?
Great question. So the echo of that is my focus for Ultimate Potential. So we renamed the business. I've had several iterations of my business, right? So we started out as O&P Enterprises, started out as PRJ Consulting, started out as PhyllisReidJarvis.com, and I don't remember the one just before Ultimate Potentials, but then through that process of me learning more about me and recognizing the important role I need to play in achieving these goals and fulfilling the dreams that I have within, that it's leadership. And therefore, the echo of that is self-leadership. So we do leadership training leadership coaching, every and anything related to leadership we do. And yet, our starting point, the foundation is always self leadership. So we get our leaders to look within. As I mentioned earlier, I'm very intuitive. I'm someone that likes space, silence. I do my walks by myself so that I can hear and feel I call them downloads that's
Mm.
within, right? And so that's what I use as an echo of my own journey into becoming my first, I would say, candidate or employee to lead. I'm my first employee. Yeah. And so it's something that I echo now in working with other leaders rather than, okay, what are the goals? Are they smart?
Mm.
Right? All that will come when you have clarity. So there's some powerful tools that throughout the years, I've created. And again, I use those tools on me. So I
Mm.
piloted them on me. I've piloted them on my family and close friends, and they've proven to work quite well. One of which is I Dare. So it's an acronym, or it's our flagship framework, IDARE. I is intention. And I couldn't help but start with intention because I'm an
Mm.
intuitive person. I need to go within. What's my deep seated intention? The D is desire, but desire is not what do I want, those more superficial wants, but the D is
Right.
desire. That is who is it? Wallace D. Wattles or Wattles? I'm not sure how you pronounce the last name. Wattles. He's really old. He
Mm.
actually passed at the turn of the 20th century or 19th century. So it's been around. He was an older thinker. And he describes or defined desire as form seeking function. So form
Oh,
seeking function.
I like that. I
Or
love that.
he said, um, potential seeking expression.
Mm.
So that's the deeper side of what desire is. And that's why I incorporated it into our IDARE framework. And then the A in IDARE is actions. What are the actions? But your actions are taken not haphazardly, they're taken with deep intention and a deep understanding of your potential, which requires knowing yourself and leading yourself through that process to come to, okay, these are the actions then. If these are my intentions over here, and I know what it is I need to express, right, at that potential of mine, that purpose, then these are the actions that will bring the R, the results. And again,
Mm.
if you're intuitive like me, you do a lot of evaluating. So that's the E in IDARE.
I love that.
Mhm.
That's
Thank,
brilliant. I think
thank you.
that's really powerful. Would you say that's the edge? Not only, I think this is an example of maybe what your edge is, maybe compared to other organizations that are doing leadership support as well.
I would hope that it's an edge. And I know I won't say it is. So the Phyllis of today, she's learned to allow for feedback and let people speak. How is this impacting you? So, what I am told is that I Dare has saved my life. So, if you, some of the testimonials, you know what I mean? Literally, I just got a letter from one of my clients. It was a company in South America. I worked with them for about 5 years. So I used to visit 2, 3 times a year. She wrote me a letter, a long emailed letter. And literally in it, she said, I literally saved her life. And so I was hired as an organizational development consultant to work with cohorts of leaders. So each year we would have about 25 to 30 leaders who would go through one of our programs. So it's a program that I created. It's a leadership development program. And it, of course, has a component of where you get a chance to discover you, right? So that's the personal part, the interpersonal part, and then of course the strategy and ability to communicate and an actual leadership lead. So that's the nature of the program. She was in that one of the cohorts and was going through a very difficult time. And so she sent this to me 6 years later. In fact, it first started out as a message, a private message to me on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
maybe in December of last year, 23. I don't know, that's so
Wow.
nice.
And this happened 6 years ago.
6 years ago. Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a gift that keeps giving.
Mhm.
Mm.
And so, yeah, that's what she said. So, to your question, is this the edge? I would say, based on the feedback that I get from my clients, um, that it definitely is something that they found to be very valuable. Those are their words. And so that's just what we use with them. Yeah.
So who benefits most from your work and why?
So when you say who, maybe elaborate a little bit for me, please. So I understand the who.
What types of client, or what type of person, or maybe at what stage said person would be in? So maybe not, so it could be based on character, it could be based on a moment in their life, it
Mhm,
could be based on maybe challenges and opportunities that they're currently facing right now. What would be the persona of the person that would most benefit
mhm,
from
mhm.
your services and your unique approach?
Thank you. A great question. There are primarily three types of person
Mm,
who would benefit. And again, only because of my own journey to where I am today and having the power, as you said, to look back and see some of the
mm,
things that we did well. And I always ask, okay, why did that go well? And the things that didn't go so well, oh, why did that not go well? So I have a lot of data that I've gathered over the years. And so I look at myself in those different decades of my life. So, first person or the persona would be someone that's new to leadership and
mm,
someone who might be aspiring to take on some leadership roles, right? Whether it's, I'd like to start a family, because that's just how I work. It's not just, you got to be in an organization. No. Maybe they're thinking about taking on a family. I've coached people who are quite younger, like significantly younger. So they're in their mid 20s and they and their partner are thinking, oh, should we buy a home? Like, should we be looking at buying a home? That requires leadership, right? So I'm
yeah,
sharing those stories with you because we need to understand leadership is not just confined to a place called an organization.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I'm really, really happy that you've taken a moment to kind of highlight that for everybody.
So important. So yeah, so wherever you are, whether it's from a personal and or professional place, if you're new to that particular situation, now you've just maybe been appointed a frontline manager and you have a few people who are reporting to you and you're thinking, "Hey, how can I be the best manager for these humans so that they can
Mm,
have a thriving experience in this organization?" And as I mentioned, the personal side, starting maybe buying a house or, even taking on a loan to do whatever, a significant loan. So it requires a lot of leadership and the ability to look back mindfully so that you're not making decisions that are rash. And then also recognizing you can do all the work, all the prep. and feel that everything's done, the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, and you'll still falter. You'll fall somehow.
Mhm.
So my job is that as a leader, we recognize that we can look ahead to the horizon, see what's likely popping up, and how do we anticipate for those things? And how do we anticipate for the unknown? And when those unknown hit us and we will fall, how do we ensure that we get back up? So that's the
Mm.
first set.
Mm.
Mhm.
Right. Right.
I would say the second a group of folks who would benefit from this work are those they're a bit more established, so anywhere from 5, 10 years in their profession and or in life as well, and they're looking now. Okay, is this it? Like, do I just do this for the next however many years? And this is right. Do I aspire
Mm.
to move up or do I aspire to move out? Because sometimes that
Mm.
happens. People want to have
Very
other
true.
challenges, right? So 5 to 10
Very true.
years in your business, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're an employee in an organization, and you could still be a frontline manager, you could still now be director. So I do work with C-suite all the way to frontline managers. I've been very, very blessed and fortunate to have that a bit,
Mm.
opportunity. So
It gives you a spectrum view as well as you're dealing with your clients,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
Because you have that spectrum and you now understand what it takes transitionally
mhm.
throughout the different levels. I think that's pretty powerful.
It's a beautiful gift and it's one that I give thanks for every day. So yeah, I get to see from the very senior levels, CEOs, CFOs, you name the C suite, directors, all the way down. And I get to see that trajectory of thinking, like what is that
Mm.
process, the thinking process that each take
Take.
at right the different levels. So so that's another. So those are more your middle level, managers, or not quite middle level, but anticipating, aspiring to maybe go there. And then we
Mm.
have those who are, 15 years or more now, and they either are looking to, I call it, and they call it, building. It's like legacy building. So, what kind of legacy I want to leave when I decide to whether leave the organization or maybe move further in it, depending on the size of the organization. And how do you do? They're probably looking at the organization as a whole because you and I both know the longer you work in a field, you get to better able to look at it both from the 50,000 feet level, and then you're able to hone in on micro areas. And that's a powerful, I call it, gift to have. And so maybe these folks who are now at the upper level of the middle managers level, higher levels, they're looking at, okay, how do we as an organization evolve into something, an entity that is meeting the needs of our, I call them new generation employees, NGEs. I have a book coming out shortly. That's how I reference them, NGEs, new generation employees. Um, they're asking for certain things that we don't have in place.
Yes. Are there any um, words of advice and maybe thoughts and messages that you'd like to share with our audience and or someone that's kind of following a similar path or considering a similar path?
Mhm. I would say the first thing that comes to mind is, and I always think about my younger version of me. So I have this,
Mm.
my graduation photo from university, my first degree. So I'm in my 20s. And I always have a chat with that 20, whatever age I was then, year old Phyllis. And
Mm-hmm.
and it's on our landing. So to go downstairs, I walk past it, and of course, I'm coming back. I pass it, and I'd always look at her, and I call her Phil. I say, Phil,
Oh.
um, I wish you had known that this is what you would end up as today because you persisted. So that for me,
Mm.
the message. Be persistent and reach out to others. Like you don't know it all. So I say, Phil, one of the things that you really could have benefited from is seeking that mentoring and
Mm.
really putting yourself in a situation or position to learn from others rather than thinking you knew it all. Because Phil was a very much a know-it-aller, right?
Thank you so much. Is there anything before we one last how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, yeah. So ultimatepotentials.com is the website. You just go there, you'll find me. There's multiple ways to find me. You can also find me on LinkedIn. So I'm on LinkedIn, it's one of my go to platforms. I'm a bit on Instagram. I do a fair little bit of, poking around on Instagram as well as Phyllis Reid-Jarvis. Our company's also on Instagram, but primarily our website, ultimatepotentials.com. You can find my phone number, my email address, you name it. You'll find me there. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much
My
for
pleasure.
sharing your time, for your patience, your kindness, and also your vulnerability to share who you are and what you are doing in this world for us all.